And these are potatoes in coffee bags in the parking strip, and I fenced up just because dogs were walking by. And this was a super cold year, so those are watermelons. I had a feeling I shouldn't even have bothered, but the potatoes did great. And this is that skinny fence where I was mentioning that I grow onions, shallots, and garlic. Just because there's not really much room in a sort of rocky soil, I never could get lush and green. This is a little bit better view of the garden the first couple of years. So I'm interplanting things and mixing things somewhat, but just for planting purposes, the rows are really easy. If I want to make sure, I know we're going to need 24 things of broccoli, or I want to make sure I have carrots every week. It's easier to plan if you are using grids. Permaculture is fabulous, and I'm moving more towards it now that I have more space. But if you're trying to maximize production from space and know that you have 4 other people in the house that want to make sure you have carrots all the time, it's just easier to plan on a linear grid system. But here's another example of not planning on a linear grid system. So there's Brussels sprouts and kale, and there's just stuff all intermixed. And what this is a great example of is planting once for an entire season. So this is really 3 seasons worth of food, and it's kohlrabi, it's collard greens, there's kale, there are Brussels sprouts in there. So what I would do is I would plant really tight rows, and I can do this because it's rows again. And I know some things are going to come up super fast, so they'll come up, and then we'll eat those just in time for the next thing to be ready that's moved into that space. And so because some things are ready in 30 days and some are ready in 300, by doing one planting, essentially, I have enough food for 3 seasons worth of brassicas. And then I can concentrate, on my remay and my slug battling efforts on this one bed. That copper tape works great, but it's super expensive. So if you just want to do one raised bed of copper tape and do your brassicas in that bed and then move the tape every year, you could do that just to help slug efforts. And then this is the intensive orchard. So there's raspberries on the side. I've got a flowering time ground cover that's to attract pollinators, and then there is 1 full-size tree at the front, and then 4 dwarf trees. There are a couple apples, 2 cherries, a plum. There's a grapevine that's going to go over the driveway, sunken driveways that way. So there's a grape on each side. There's a trellis there, and then there is you can't see it. There's a tea bush. There's a yuzu, which is the only citrus that grows in ground in Washington State. It's a cross between a lime and a mandarin. There's a Sichuan peppercorn plant, and then towards the back there, where it's full shade, I am growing chicken forage, so it's stuff that wants to reseed anyway, like arugula. There's camelina back there, dandelions I'm growing on purpose for the chickens back there. There's a hardy ginger, which actually does good in soggy, shady conditions back there. So this is really just a 5-foot, well, I encroached a little bit, but it's a 5-foot wide space between my house and my neighbor's house. Most people just have lawn, but there's so much food there and so many different types of things. It's pretty amazing. And then I've got chamomile and borage interspersed throughout. This is pretty early in the season, so just to get the pollinators in. So if you're rethinking about the space you have and what grows well there, intensive orchard is a great way to go. And I think I listed on here, you could do SYA too. That's a lot of work for me.